Hey, thanks for the introduction, David. It's actually Helena, but that's fine. So today I'm just going to give you a very brief taster of Glean, and then I'm going to focus on a couple of the new features that we have, which include those that empower rather than replace the student with AI-powered technology. And do get in touch with me afterwards if you need to learn more about Glean. Now, first of all, if you have never seen or heard of Glean before, you might be wondering what it does. And if I ask people in the know what it does, I invariably get the same answer, and that is that it is there to help create a set of notes. And this could be from a lecture, a seminar, or a meeting, basically wherever you need to take notes from. And this could be both in person and remotely. Now, that is technically correct, but actually what we are trying to do is to help people understand and learn information so they can study successfully. And they're two different things, because just having a set of notes doesn't mean you've learned anything. It's going through that note-taking process that helps you learn. And there's a key distinction between the two. So Glean does not take notes for you, but what it does do is facilitate a note-taking process, because that is incredibly important. And that's what we're actually trying to help people with. And this moves me very nicely onto this quote here, which I got off LinkedIn actually, and it basically says learning is necessarily effortful. It requires cognitive engagement, friction, and practice. So basically saying that it requires effort. And of course, that is so true. It's necessary that it requires effort and your engagement and for you to actually do something and to practice. You might not learn anything or all you need in a session like this, because it can be hard to learn in the moment sometimes, but you can learn through a process. So it's what you do before, during, and after where the learning actually happens. And we try and carry this strategy on within Glean itself, because we feel that the note-taking part of learning is really important. Okay, I'm going to come out of my slides and go into Glean. Now, I'm going to give you a quick glimpse of it, but incidentally, you can use Glean both on and offline, which is great because it gives students that peace of mind that it will always be there for them. Now, this is the Glean homepage, and very briefly, if I want to record a new event, I just click New Event, and I can go and give this a title. I'm going to call this Demo Event. And then if I want to, I can go and import some slides, and I should bring them in. And then I have the option to decide what I want to record. Now, if I click on this microphone option, if I want to record something online, I would choose one of these two options. But because I'm talking into the laptop today, I should be choosing this microphone option at the top. So you can see my voice is now being displayed on the screen. And it sort of works around chunks. It works around phrasing. So if I pause, there'll be a break in the audio. And then very quickly, once you've started recording, you can add very simple notes, such as, let's say, I'm going to add a key point and bring it in. Or maybe if I want to keep it even more simple, I might just add an important label. And these are then populated into your notes pane in the middle here. And these are all time-stamped and linked to the audio. And this way you can just keep your notes really simple, because you can know that you can come back to them later on to flesh them out in more detail when you've got more time. And this sort of stops the students from worrying about having to write absolutely everything down. And you can also keep your slides aligned to your notes as well. So slides moved on, I can just move on to the next slide by clicking post next slide. Now, for those students who need to jot equations down frequently or do drawings, so particularly good for those doing STEM type subjects, we have a very simple tool called Scribble that might help. And Scribble is available to use on both the laptop and the mobile device versions. But I think the main user case will probably be the mobile devices, where you can actually use your finger or a stylus. But as we're a bit short of time today, I'll just stay on the web version to give you an idea of what it looks like, and I will use my mouse to do it. So Scribble is down here, and on opening it, this whiteboard appears where you can do drawings and equations or whatever you want to in here. And I can use my mouse now to very quickly add a short little equation. MC equals MC squared. Bit difficult when you're using a mouse. This is why it's much easier when you're doing it on your mobile device. I can add shapes as well. So I'm just going to put a square around that. Maybe I want a green arrow. Oops, there we go. I can point that in that direction. And what's quite nice is we can move this around as well. So if you have a really big formula, you can continue writing it alongside here. You can change the colors of your pen and the size of your pen as well. And of course, you can just do random drawings. I'm just going to do a little smiley face in here. And we've got the option as well to undo and redo and rub out. And we've also got the option to add highlights as well. So everything you would expect really in a scribble tool. If you want to be really precise, you can actually have a grid, so you can sort of do really precise graph work or something. And then when you've finished, you can just send that off, and then it ends up going into your notes feed as well. And this is also time-stamped and linked to the part of the audio that was currently being recorded. You can see the little dots there. Now, when you've finished recording, you can go and click this stop button. And then if you would like the transcript from your recording, you can click this transcript button up here, and you can use the transcribe audio button to convert the recorded audio into text. And you can choose whichever language you are speaking in. Obviously, I'm doing English today, so I shall be transcribing in English. Now, it's worth mentioning at this point that there is no limitation on the number of minutes available for either your recording or your transcript. Now, what I will do now, though, I'm just going to leave that transcribing. It doesn't take very long, but we haven't got much time today. And I'm going to open up an event that I did earlier, so you can see an example of what a recorded event would look like afterwards if you had gone and done it for real. So I'm just going to go back to my home page and open this one here. So this is an event where I've got all of my slides in here. I've got all of my notes and my labels. I've got all of my audio. So I don't need to worry that I've missed anything. I've got everything that I need to make a nice comprehensive set of notes. And as an added bonus, by having clicked on that transcribe button, I've also got all of my transcript. So I can basically toggle between those two view options depending on how I like to work. And now I can just work through my notes, a bit like a to-do list. So as you can see, if I click on any of my notes, it takes me straight to that part of my audio. And then I can just go and play it back. So for example, I'm just going to play this back.
We're going to take a look at effective notes, a great process to use for note-taking, and how these notes can help you.
You can see I can manually go and flesh my notes out in more detail. I can do exactly the same with my transcript as well. So if I click on my transcript, you can see as I navigate certain parts of my annotations, it takes me directly to that part of the transcript. And again, I can play it back and you'll see there'll be a little bit of word tracing.
This graph is known as the Ebbinghaus forget.
And of course, I can add more notes in here. But what is really nice about having your transcript is that you might actually decide, actually, I'd quite like to grab that whole little section there, and I would like to post that into my notes. So you can cherry pick the bits of the transcript you need and leave everything else. Now, of course, when you've finished with your notes, you're going to be able to very easily get them out of Glean by clicking on this reading view at the top, where they will be displayed in a really nice and easy to read format. And then you can basically copy them and pop them into any platform you want, whether it's Microsoft Word, Google Docs, even a nursing journal. You're not restricted to a particular file type, and then it will look something like this. Okay, so that was a very, very basic overview of Glean. But obviously, there's a lot more you can do with it. But what I would actually like to move on to now are two of the features that I really love, and I think that would be really fantastic for a lot of the users. And these are both tools that leverage the advances and the developments of AI. Now, I think it's important to say that AI has been around for a long time now. And for a while at Glean, we've been trying to figure out how we can utilize these advancements to the advantage of the student, because I think AI absolutely has the power to enhance learning, but it really must be done in a considered way. You know, getting AI, for example, just to automatically write notes up for you isn't necessarily helpful. It might take less effort to do that, and we could probably add a button along here that might allow us to do that. But actually, the goal is not just a set of notes with Glean. The goal is to learn the content of an event. And of course, as I said before, learning requires engagement and activity. So you can see I've got this demo event open here at the moment. Now, the first tool I'd like to run through is our QuizMe tool. Now, QuizMe's been out officially for about a month, and it's been getting some amazing feedback from users. And what it allows you to do is to test yourself on the content of your recording. Now, there's a couple of different ways in which you can use it. You can go and use the quizzing tool as a bit of a revision technique, where you go back in and test your knowledge before exporting it out of Glean. But another way of using it, which would be really beneficial, is if you've had your lecture and you've used Glean, and when you go back to your event for the first time, you can test your knowledge before you even start to play anything back. And that way you can find out what you remembered before you started going through all the information you've captured, just giving you a bit of a refresher on the subject. Both really good techniques and very straightforward to use. How it works, you click on this QuizMe tool up here. And then I'm going to start the quiz, and what it's going to be doing is looking at your transcript, analysing it, and then starting to ask you some intelligent multiple choice questions with plausible wrong answers, and then you can just go through and answer them. Now, of course, I'm not actually going to read these questions out. I'm just going to just guess and hope that I get some right and some wrong, because I haven't really got the time to sort of do this properly. I'm just guessing here, randomly picking some answers. And you see, what is really nice is I can now show the results to myself. And this is great because what it does, it tells you what you got right up here, but more importantly, what you got incorrect. And I think that is key, because it's nice to know that you've got something right, especially if you're using this straight after a lecture. You know, you're telling yourself, well, actually, I remembered this. So it shows I was paying attention and I've understood that concept. And so, but these are the things actually that I got wrong. So I need to spend a little bit more time focusing on after the event. Now, just in case you're wondering, you can retake that quiz, or you can go and generate a brand new quiz, which of course will generate a brand new set of questions. So it's a great feature. Do have a play with it if you've got the software. Now, moving on to the last feature. And that is still in the realms of utilising AI to reduce waste from the learning process. And that is our AI outline. Okay, so I'm going to stay in this demo event to do this. Now, what AI outline will allow you to do is to create an outline of your event. Now, for some people, this is going to be irrelevant because they'll be quite good at using Glean to identify different topics and things that they will want to go and review. But for others, we know that some people really still struggle with the note-taking process. And all they might do in their class or meeting is hit that record button and not really be able to do much else. And therefore, they might need a little bit of help or assistance to navigate that audio file. And this is where AI Outline will help, because what it's going to be able to do, you'll be able to go into this new section here and then ask it to generate an outline. And then it's going to analyze the recording and it's going to break it down into sections for you with headings and a brief summary. So it's going to tell you what was talked about in this point or at this point, and it's all time-stamped, you see. And so, you know, maybe you come back afterwards and you think, you know, at this stage, maybe you've got nothing in your notes, maybe you've not even got any slides, but you can think, actually, I'd quite like to learn a little bit more about AI in learning. And because it operates a bit like an interactive contents page, when I click the play button, it will play straight back from that area.
Now to the question of AI in learning and whether you should be using it when you study.
And of course, the onus is now still on you to play it back and write things up in your own words, but that really is an essential part of the learning process. But what it will help you to do basically is to help people to navigate all of that content they've captured just that little bit easier, and to suggest topics that they might want to go and research further. Okay, so there it is. Glean in a particularly tiny nutshell with a minute to spare, I think. But what I would really recommend that you do is request a free account for me so that you can have a play with it yourself. And I will put a link in the chat window to our recommenders page. And from there, you can request a license and you can learn more about Glean as well. And I'll also pop my email address in there in case you have any further questions. Okay. That's 1 minute to go. So actually, I did that really fast, David. So
wow, that's awesome.